My sister shaved off my 8-year-old daughter's hair and left her bald. She looked at her and said, "Now you look like your father's failure," while her daughters laughed. The very next day, her bank account was frozen, and the house she lived in was repossessed. My name is Marco. I'm 38 years old, and if there's one thing I've always believed in, it's family. My life hasn't been perfect, but I've worked hard to build something steady, a loving wife, Elena, and our daughter, Valeria, who means the world to me. We live in a quiet town, and I work as an accountant for a construction company. We're not wealthy, but we've never lacked the essentials. Still, this story isn't really about me, it's about my younger sister, Natalia, and the terrible thing she did to my little girl. Natalia is 35, and our relationship has always been complicated. When we were kids, we were close. But as we got older, it was like something shifted in her. She seemed bothered whenever I was happy, like my good fortune was somehow an insult to her. When I married Elena, she made nasty little remarks, saying things like, "She's too good for you, this won't last." I brushed it off, telling myself it was just her personality. But the years proved me wrong, it only got worse. Natalia married young, at 22, to a man named Victor. I never liked him. He was lazy, always trying to find shortcuts, never wanting to do honest work. They had 2 daughters together, Camila, who's 9 now, and Adriana, who's 8. But 3 years ago, Victor walked out on them for another woman, leaving Natalia alone to raise the girls. Since then, she's been struggling. She got a job at a hair salon, cutting and coloring hair, but the paycheck barely covered the basics. As her older brother, I felt it was my duty to step in. When her divorce left her unable to pay the bills, I told her not to worry, I would help. I covered the mortgage on the modest house she had bought with a loan. Every month, I sent money for utilities, groceries, clothes for her daughters, and even a bit for her personal expenses. It wasn't extravagant, but it was enough to keep them comfortable. My wife, Elena, supported me in this, though sometimes she said Natalia should take on another job or be smarter with money. I couldn't disagree, but I always answered the same way, she's my sister, and those girls didn't ask for any of this. But over time, I noticed something that bothered me deeply. Natalia never once said thank you. She never showed appreciation. Instead, she always found something to criticize. When we bought a new car, she accused us of showing off. When we took Valeria on vacation, she complained that some people weren't as lucky. At first, I brushed it off. But slowly, it became clear, this wasn't stress. This wasn't bitterness. It was envy. Natalia resented the life I had built. And my daughter, Valeria, the sweetest, most cheerful girl with long, shiny brown hair like her mother's, felt it too. She loved playing with her cousins, Camila and Adriana, but every time she visited, she'd come home with some story. Aunt Natalia told me my dress was ugly. Or, Aunt Natalia yelled at me for touching her things. I would tell Valeria not to take it to heart, that her aunt was just stressed. But inside, it burned. Everything changed one Saturday. Valeria had been invited to a little friend's birthday party at a play center, and she was over the moon. She wanted to look like a princess. Since my wife, Elena, had to work that day, I thought it would be a nice idea to take her to Natalia's salon for a special haircut. Natalia was skilled with hair, I couldn't deny that. I called her and said, "Natalia, I want you to make Valeria look like a princess. It's a special day. Give her the prettiest haircut you can. I'll leave extra money so you won't have to worry about anything." Her answer came in that cold, dismissive tone she always had. "Fine. Drop her off, but don't come too late. I've got things to do." I brushed off the attitude. I took Valeria to Natalia's house, not the salon, since she said it would be easier to cut her hair there. Valeria was glowing, in her little pink dress and shiny shoes. I kissed her forehead, told her I'd be back soon, and reminded her, "Be good, my love. You're going to look beautiful." She hugged me tight and smiled. I never imagined what I would come back to. When I returned around 5 in the evening, I heard a sound that made my blood run cold, a cry. A raw, heartbroken cry. For a moment, I thought maybe one of the girls had gotten hurt. But then I recognized the voice. It was Valeria. Before I could even step inside, I heard Natalia's voice, sharp and cruel, "Now you look like your father's failure. Bald and ugly, just like him." And then came laughter. Natalia's laughter, joined by Camilla's and Adriana's. I burst through the door, and what I saw stopped me in my tracks. Valeria was sitting on a chair in the middle of the living room, her head lowered. At her feet lay a pile of her beautiful brown hair, scattered across the floor like garbage. When she lifted her face, my world collapsed. She was completely bald. Her eyes were red from crying, her cheeks streaked with tears, her little face twisted with shame. Natalia stood next to her, still holding the razor, grinning like she'd just pulled off the funniest prank in the world. Behind her, Camilla and Adriana were pointing at Valeria, mocking her. "Look! Look!" Camilla shouted, laughing. "She looks like an egg," giggled Adriana, covering her mouth. I can't even explain what went through me in that moment. It was rage, disbelief, and heartbreak all tangled into one. I rushed to Valeria and wrapped my arms around her. She clung to me, trembling, and through her sobs she whispered, "Daddy, why did she do this to me? I just wanted to look pretty." My voice came out like a growl. "What did you do to my daughter, Natalia? What is wrong with you?" Natalia finally stopped laughing, but she wasn't sorry. She crossed her arms and looked me dead in the eye with disdain. "Calm down, Marco. It was just a joke. I told her I'd give her a modern cut. And look, she looks unique," she said with a smirk. "A joke? You shaved my daughter's head. You humiliated her. How dare you?" She shrugged like it was nothing. "Don't be dramatic. It's just hair. It'll grow back. Besides, that girl's always showing off with her long hair, like my daughters aren't as pretty as her." That hit me like a knife. Showing off. She was only 8 years old. All she wanted was to feel special for a birthday party. And her own aunt, out of sheer envy, did this to her. "You're sick," I told her. And at that, Natalia's face twisted with fury. Natalia exploded, pointing her finger right at me. "Don't come at me with this envy nonsense. You're the one always showing off, your perfect life, your perfect wife, your perfect daughter, while I'm left here, enslaved, raising my girls with nothing. And my big brother thinks throwing me a few bills fixes everything." I couldn't hold back anymore. My voice shook with rage. "I pay for everything, Natalia. The house, the food, your daughter's clothes, everything. And this is how you repay me? By humiliating my child? You're ungrateful." She sneered. "Well, too bad, Marco. If it bothers you so much, then stop. I don't want your charity anyway." "Don't worry," I shouted, my voice breaking, "you won't have it anymore." Valeria kept sobbing in my arms, every cry like a hammer striking my chest. I wrapped her in my jacket, trying to cover her head, and headed for the door. "This isn't over, Natalia," I growled. "I swear, this isn't over." Natalia laughed bitterly behind me. "What are you going to do, Marco? Stop being the perfect brother. Take your bald daughter and leave me alone." I left that house trembling with fury. Valeria wouldn't stop crying, and I didn't know how to calm her. In the car, I held her tight. "My love, everything will be okay. You are beautiful with or without hair. No one can take that away from you." But she only pressed her face against my chest and wept. When we got home, Elena rushed out to greet us. The moment she saw Valeria, she froze. She dropped to her knees, hugged her, but Valeria wouldn't even look at her. She was like an empty shell, as if part of her had shut down. I told my wife everything, and her face shifted from shock to rage. How could she do this to our daughter? She's just a child. Natalia is insane. That night, we tried to comfort Valeria. We told her we would take her to the doctor, that her hair would grow back, that she was the most beautiful girl in the world. But nothing worked. She didn't want to go to the birthday party anymore. She didn't want to see her friends. She locked herself in her room, whispering, "They're going to call me bald. Everyone's going to laugh at me." Natalia hadn't just cut her hair. She had stolen her confidence, her joy, everything that made Valeria shine. The next morning, I sat down at my computer, opened my bank account, and cancelled every single payment I had been making for Natalia. The mortgage, the utilities, the deposits for her expenses, everything. I wasn't going to fund the life of someone who had destroyed my daughter's spirit. But for Valeria, the damage lingered. She stopped eating properly. She barely touched her meals, and when she did, it was because Elena and I begged her. She didn't want to go to school, convinced the kids would make fun of her. She stopped playing with her friends. Her laughter, her beautiful laughter that had always filled our home, was gone. We tried everything. We bought her a wig, but she ripped it off in tears, saying it looked fake. We took her to a psychologist, but in the sessions she hardly spoke. My little girl was broken, and I felt powerless. At night, Elena and I lay awake talking, trying to find answers. Every time I saw Valeria staring in the mirror with sadness, running her tiny fingers over her bare scalp, something inside me shattered. But one thing grew stronger, my determination. Natalia wasn't going to get away with this. Canceling the payments was only the beginning. 2 weeks later, the calls started. Natalia's name lit up my phone over and over. She left furious voicemails, demanding I call her back. At first, I ignored them. I didn't want to hear her voice. But one afternoon at the office, something told me to answer. I picked up. Her voice hissed through the line. "Marco, what's wrong with you? They cut off my water and electricity. I don't have a penny in my account. Why are you doing this to me?" Natalia's voice screeched through the phone, like she was the victim. I laughed, a cold laugh that didn't even sound like me. "Why am I doing this? You actually dare ask me that after what you did to Valeria? You shaved her head, Natalia. You humiliated her. You made her feel worthless. And now you expect me to keep taking care of you like you're some kind of queen. It was just a joke, Marco. I told you it was a joke. You're going to destroy my life over a haircut." Her voice cracked between anger and desperation. "No, Natalia. It wasn't a joke. It was cruelty. And I'm not destroying your life, you did that yourself. Get a decent job. Take responsibility. But don't expect another cent from me. You're selfish," she spat. "You've always been selfish. You think you're better than everyone else just because you have money. My daughters are suffering because of you." That lit the fire in me even more. "Your daughters. The same ones who laughed while my little girl sobbed. Don't you dare throw that in my face. Teach them to be better people, Natalia, because clearly they didn't learn that from you. And don't call me again. I want nothing to do with you." I hung up, my heart pounding, my hands trembling. But at the same time, I felt lighter. For years I had carried her burdens, convinced it was my duty as a brother. But now I saw the truth, she had never valued me. She just used me. And when she had the chance, she struck at the one thing I loved most. Meanwhile, Valeria was still suffering. The psychologist told us healing would take time, that humiliation like this doesn't disappear overnight. We tried everything, reading her stories, taking her to the park, buying her toys. But she stayed withdrawn. One night, as I tucked her into bed, she whispered words that shattered me. "Daddy, why does Aunt Natalia hate me?" I held her close and told her Natalia didn't hate her, that she was wrong, that Valeria was perfect just the way she was. But inside, I made a vow, Natalia would pay for every tear my daughter cried. A month later, Natalia called again. This time her voice was broken, pleading. "Marco, please, listen. I have nothing. The bank is going to take my house. I have nowhere to go with the girls. Help me, please. You're my brother." For a moment, guilt flickered. But then I saw Valeria in my mind, her hair on the floor, Natalia's cruel laughter, her cousins mocking her. That guilt turned into ice. Now I'm your brother. Where was that sisterly love when you humiliated my daughter? When you called her ugly and laughed at her pain? No, Natalia. You don't get to ask me for anything. What's happening to you is your fault. Solve it yourself. Please, Marco, she sobbed. It was a mistake. I was angry, I didn't think. Forgive me. A mistake. My voice hardened. You call shaving a 8-year-old's head and destroying her self-esteem a mistake? There's no forgiveness for that. And hear me clearly, I don't ever want to see you again. Don't look for me. I hung up and blocked her number. That was the last time I ever spoke to her. Weeks later, word got back to me. The bank repossessed her house. With no money and no way to negotiate, she was evicted. Camila and Adriana's father, Victor, filed for custody, arguing Natalia couldn't provide for them. The court agreed. The girls went to live with him. Natalia was left with nothing, no house, no daughters, no support. And I won't lie, part of me felt satisfaction. It wasn't just revenge, it was justice. She had crossed a line that could never be undone, and now she was paying the price. While Natalia's world collapsed, ours focused on healing Valeria. It was a slow, painful process, but with the psychologist's help, we began rebuilding her confidence piece by piece. Little by little, Valeria began to change. Her hair started to grow back, first soft like down, then in short strands. My wife taught her how to style it with scarves and colorful headbands. At first Valeria resisted, but in time she smiled when she saw herself in the mirror. One morning at breakfast, she looked at us and said something that made our eyes well up. Mom, Dad, I think I want to go back to school. Elena and I glanced at each other, holding back tears. We walked her there that first day, and though she was nervous, her friends ran to her with hugs. A few asked about her short hair, and Valeria, with a courage that filled me with pride, replied, I cut it because I wanted to try something new, and I like it. That was my daughter, finding her strength again. From then on, she came back to life. She played, she laughed, she sang her favorite songs at the top of her lungs. Slowly, she became the Valeria we remembered, joyful, bright, unstoppable. Her hair reached her shoulders again, and sometimes she'd still touch her head as if remembering, but no longer with sadness. Months later, we went into the city to buy a gift for a cousin's birthday. Walking down a crowded street, I saw her. Natalia. She was sitting on the sidewalk with a plastic cup in front of her, begging for change. Her clothes were filthy, her face hollow, her hair a tangled mess. For a moment, I doubted it was really her. Then she looked up and met my eyes. Marco. She shouted, staggering to her feet. Look what you've done to me. Because of you, I'm here. You're a monster. People stopped to stare. My wife squeezed Valeria's hand. My daughter, though, didn't look afraid. She looked at me, waiting for my answer. I drew in a breath and said, steady and clear, no, Natalia. I didn't do this to you. You did it to yourself. You humiliated my daughter. You tried to break her. And now you're living with the results of your own choices. Don't blame me. She raged, hurling insults, calling me a bad brother, shouting that I abandoned her. But none of it touched me. I reached into my pocket, pulled out a single coin, and placed it in Valeria's hand. I bent down and whispered, give it to that lady, my love. Valeria, with a mixture of boldness and innocence, walked forward and dropped the coin into Natalia's cup. The clink of metal hitting plastic echoed down the street. Natalia froze, staring at us with burning eyes. We turned and walked away together. Valeria was smiling. Elena laughed softly. And for the first time in a long time, I laughed too. Today, months later, I can finally say we are free. Valeria is stronger than ever. Her hair is long again, her laughter fills our home, and her smile lights up our days. My wife and I treasure every small moment of happiness. As for Natalia, I don't know where she is now, and I don't care. She tried to destroy us. Instead, she made us stronger. My daughter learned a hard truth: no one, not even family, has the right to make you feel less. Justice doesn't always come the way you expect. But when it does, it's sweet.